Hi, this is Martin Lucas, CEO of Master Mindset. We are talking about everything to do with e-commerce show North, and I'm very pleased to say that Graham Broughton is joining us. He's the Managing Director of We Are Pentagon. How are we doing today, Graham?
Yeah, awesome, thank you.
Good. Graham, let's start getting to know you, right? So why should people come to your talk? What is your experience?
Okay, so Pentagon as a business was founded in 2009. We're experts specifically in marketplaces, so we deal directly with the likes of eBay and Amazon in the UK, and then across Europe, multiple marketplaces such as Cdiscount, Fnac, Price Minister, Leredoute, many different specific marketplace integrators. So we've been able to establish that knowledge and that information mindset, based on the details that we're launching high street retailers and large brands into European and UK marketplaces. We've been able to do that through our expertise and our knowledge base from the UK, but also in Bulgaria, where we have a very large amount of staff who support us in delivering that service.
Wonderful. Okay, so a big breadth of experience. If we were to zero right down in terms of benefits and gains of your talk, what would you say to that?
Okay, so it's not a talk about why you should be on marketplaces. So the statistic that's thrown out there that we like to talk about is that by 2020, 40% of all online e-commerce will be made via marketplaces. So I don't think it's necessarily why you should be selling online or why you should be selling via marketplaces. It's the tips and the incremental gains that you can get from doing that. And my 20-minute snapshot talk is about how we bring together an A to Z of tips and promotions and areas where you can tweak how you sell online to make it as successful as possible.
Okay, very good. Okay, and then looking at e-commerce show North in general, why do you think people should come to the show, apart from the fact that it's free, obviously?
So that's always a good benefit, and
yeah.
Northerners are renowned for being relatively tight, and I'm a Northerner, so I'm allowed to say that. I think when people think about e-commerce and think about expanding, that they generally think about London and the South as a hub of that, and actually there's many retailers who now are relocating to Manchester who have set up in the North. I mean, there's some huge fast fashion brands that have been set up in Manchester, such as Pretty Little Thing, Boohoo, Misguided. There's some huge distribution centres, so the likes of Co-op, AO, Brightstar, who are based in the north. So it's not necessarily. I think it's just a really good opportunity that we're bringing people outside of London to a place that is expanding and growing, and the north is not necessarily renowned for that, but over the past 3 or 4 years has really driven forward.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we're at the start of what looks like a monumental shift. I've likened it to almost like the Britpop success of the North and the indie success of the North from nearly 20 years ago. Things tend to come in cycles, and it's got a very rich trade history as well. Okay, moving back to you as an individual, what's brought you success in your career, would you say?
So me specifically, I think a lot of the success I've been able to encounter has been brought around in relationships. So we've fostered fantastic relationships with marketplaces ourselves as a business. Personally, the people that we've been working with them not for 1 or 2 years, we've been working with them for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And many of our new clients come via referrals, people talking about us, sharing that they've had positive experience with us. So not just from a client relationship, but also from a marketplace relationship and a third-party relationship.
Okay, good. Great insight. And just in terms of insight, what would be your best tip for anyone out there?
I think for me personally, is potentially, if you first don't succeed, try a service provider. I think we can get bogged down in thinking that because we're successful in one avenue or one stream, that we're going to replicate that success in another stream just by just by listing on there or by rolling out on there. And if it's unsuccessful, it might not be necessarily that the product is right, it isn't correctly priced, or if the pricing isn't the right point, but you actually have to do something slightly different. So what we see in terms of our experience for marketplaces specifically is that people try to go to a marketplace with a .com strategy, and it's a very different ball game to be in. So they might see that that when they try and launch on one marketplace, they don't have any success, whereas their .com business is thriving. And I think one of my points there is really, we're not an FX provider. We're not specialists in social media. So we use third-party providers to support us on that. Okay. Whereas when people try to go to market, I think it's best to think about not necessarily just doing it by yourselves, but also using third-party software providers or third-party providers.
Great insight, really good. So now we're moving on to my favourite part, this magical skill called hindsight, right? So yep. What is the one thing you wish somebody had told you, 10 or 20 years ago?
So, hindsight is an amazing thing. And I think, some of the things you think about, like, should I have invested in Bitcoin, or what could I have done on the lottery? I think for me, it's kind of just going in, don't get in your own way. There's always going to be a reason not to do something. There's always a reason not to, the financials don't stack up, or strategically there's an issue, or there's a logistics problem. I think sometimes you just have to test and learn. Sometimes you have to run a pilot. Sometimes you just have to do something to see if it works and see if it happens. So when I say don't get in your own way, you'll always come up with a reason why not to do something. I think the best thing to do is come up with a reason why to do it, and then just have a go.
Brilliant. Fascinating insight. So really great having you on, Graham. For anyone that's out there listening, it is free to register. It's a very successful event. It's something where you can meet people like Graham. You can hear more of his wisdom. You can listen to his talk. And there's many other speakers and innovators and exhibitors there. So for now, thanks very much for coming on, Graham. It was great to have you.
Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it.